let's welcome firstly our panelists today. We have Murali Krishna sir from Infinity Learn. So thank you so much for being yet another time with Shiksha's platform, and I think all of them are very excited to get all that information and tips and tricks for cracking NEET 2022 this year. And I think all of them have already started dropping their queries. Okay, so we will be discussing about biology, especially for this session. And as I mentioned them, that we'll be having 2 more sessions for NEET for physics and chemistry. So we'll try and answer all your doubts regarding biology, all the related questions that you might have. So sir, just starting off with the very first thing, what could be the most important chapters in biology that students should really focus on right now?
Yeah. Thank you, Bhageshri, and welcome all the students. You gave me a tough question in the beginning. What could be the most important chapter in biology? Biology is the most scoring subject where the student actually, out of total possible maximum score of 720, 360, that is 50% of marks a student can score from biology. But out of your total mark, say if you are expecting some, for example, 600 out of 720 in the NEET examination or 500, much of the contribution comes from biology, which is highly scoring. And I don't consider that you focus only on a particular chapter, but still I will explain the importance and weightage of each and every chapter approximately. There are total 22 chapters in grade 11 and 16 chapters in grade 12. All the students must be very familiar. And in grade 11, relatively, there are 22 chapters and more number of questions will be from grade 11 than grade 12. And I will list the chapters. Living world is the first chapter, from which hardly one question appears, either 1 or 0. And biological classification, from which you will get about 3 questions every year without fail. And plant kingdom, where you can get some 4 to 5 questions. Animal kingdom, surely you will get 4 questions, which is very easy and scoring. Morphology of flowering plants, about 2 questions. Anatomy, 3 questions. Structural organization animals, about 2 questions. Cell, the unit of life, about 2. Biomolecules, 3. And cell cycle and cell division, very important. Many questions come from cell division, mitosis, meiosis, some numerical based questions as well will appear. Cell cycle, cell division, at least some 3 questions will appear from that. And plant physiology includes transport in plants, photosynthesis in higher plants, respiration, plant growth and development. From all these, you will get about 6-7 marks. And human physiology, digestion, breathing, body fluids, locomotion, neural control, coordination, chemical coordination and integration.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but all of them are saying that voice is not clearly audible to them.
Wait, let me come close to the laptop. And Bhageshri, let me know whether it is audible now.
Yeah, it is audible, but they are saying that it's not very clear and it's going too fast.
Clear. Okay, for you also it is same, very clear, or it is
Yeah,
clear?
I think there's something, I mean, it's like flattering. The sound is getting not clear in the ears. So I think that is what they're also facing. Yes, I have seen your messages, attendees. Just give us a second. I am trying to fix that up for sir. Okay, so just give us a minute. I think because you're a little far away from the laptop or something, so that is why. Okay, we'll go slowly chapter wise. Don't worry, Yamuna. Okay, we'll go slowly. So maybe you can like speak a bit louder and maybe a bit slow so that they understand that.
Yeah, I will do that.
Is it fine for all of you? Is sir clear to all of you? We'll go slowly. We'll go slowly. Don't worry.
Yeah. And Bhageshri, it is for 30 minutes duration.
Sorry, sir. What?
Now, what is the duration of this session?
It's still 5. We have already started late, actually.
Till 5?
Yeah.
Only one, my session till 5?
Yes, sir. Only your session.
Only my session, okay.
Yeah.
That's plenty of time. Then I will go slow.
Yeah.
Then I will go slow.
Yes, sir. I think that will be clear for them also. Okay, don't worry. We'll go slowly and we'll go very, like, you'll be understanding everything. Don't worry. Okay, so I think we can start with that topics for all the importance of the topics in biology.
Will I be able to share my screen so that I can...
Sure. I'll give that access to you, sir. Okay, I think all of you can visualize the screen. All of you can see the screen, right? Yeah, okay. So you can start.
Yeah. So you can just see the screen now. Grade 11 biology, there are total 22 chapters across 5 units, as you can see here. Living world, not many questions. One question maximum appears from this chapter, living world, about half a question on an average. And next is a biological classification. And from this biological classification, you can get more number of questions. You can expect around 3 questions or so. And plant kingdom also you can expect 3 to 4 questions. Next chapter is the animal kingdom. And in animal kingdom and in biology in general, in the recent years, if you take either 2020 or 2021, even 2019, most of the biology questions have been from the NCERT textbook. And you should perfect the NCERT textbook concepts as well as examples. For example, animal kingdom, some important concepts, general characters of each group, and all the examples you should memorize. And that is highly scoring. Morphology of flowering plants, next chapters. Morphology of flowering plants in 2020 NEET, for example, there were 3 questions. Anatomy of flowering plants, there were 2 questions. About 5-6 questions you can expect from this part. And then there are 3 chapters covering the cell. Cell, the unit of life, in which various cell organelles are described. Biomolecules, and then cell cycle, cell division. Overall, from these 3 chapters, you can expect a minimum 10 questions. Out of that, many of them are from cell cycle, cell division, particularly meiosis. Various numerical based questions are also possible here. Then plant physiology, we have 5 chapters: transport in plants, mineral nutrition, photosynthesis in higher plants, respiration in plants, plant growth and development. Also remember, in CBSE, some chapters have been deleted in the syllabus considering the pandemic situation last year, before last year. But in NEET, they have been asking questions from all the chapters, including the deleted topics. But still, they have provided some choice to the students in section B. Out of 15 questions given, you need to answer only 10 questions. And again, there was another question last time, Bhageshri, I think I have not answered. In section B, there are 15 questions, student has to attempt only 10. What if a student attempts more than 10? Only the first 10 among the attempted questions will be considered for evaluation, and the remaining questions will be ignored. For example, question number 1 to 15, there will be actually 36 to 50 will be the last section B. Suppose you have botany questions of 1 to 50. In that 1 to 35 will be section A. 36 to 50 will be section B. In this 36 to 50, you can attempt any 10 questions. And if you attempt more than 10 questions, they will consider only the first 10 attempted questions. Say you answer first question, you leave the second one, then go to third, then leave the third, then go to fourth. So first is the first question, then fourth, whatever you have attempted in sequence of the paper, first 10 will be evaluated, remaining will be ignored. And you should spend some time reading every question of section B. Though you are answering 10, in your interest, you better read all the questions and judge where you are very confident of scoring, where you have some doubt. Whichever question you are not very confident, you don't know the answer, you are unsure, leave them in the choice and answer the remaining 10 questions. Unfortunately for you, the NTA has increased the duration of the exam. Till last year it was 180 minutes for 180 questions. Now they have increased to 200 minutes, so that you have time to read every question. Last year, it was 180 questions you need to answer, but total 200 questions are there. You have only 180 minutes to read all the 200 questions. So section B, decide what you can answer, what you are sure of, what you are not sure of, spend adequate time. So plant physiology, total there will be 10 plus questions from entire plant physiology across all the 5 chapters. Plant growth and development, say for example, photosynthesis and transport in plants. You can expect more number of questions from this. Say, for example, 3 questions in transport in plants, 2 from mineral nutrition, 2 from transport in plants, 1 from mineral nutrition, 1 to 2 from photosynthesis, 1 from respiration, and about 2 questions from plant growth and development. In 2020, they asked even 3 questions, that is plant physiology. And apart from that, in grade 11, you have human physiology. There are 7 chapters: digestion and absorption, breathing, exchange of gases, body fluid circulation, excretory products and their elimination, locomotion, movement, neural control coordination, chemical coordination, integration. From every chapter, you will get about 2 questions. From certain chapters, you will get more than 2 questions. For example, body fluid circulation, you can expect 3 questions minimum. Chemical coordination and integration, you can expect 3 questions minimum, though it is not a bigger chapter. And chemical coordination integration, 3 questions minimum you will get. Body fluid circulation, about 3 questions you will get. From the rest, you will get at least 2 questions. Say locomotion, movement, 2 questions, one of them likely to be from muscle, one of them from skeleton. And more scoring area in this is joints, is just 1 paragraph in the NCERT textbook, just 1/3 of a page. And you can get 1 question from joints. You have to remember the examples for each type of joint. Overall, from grade 11, you can expect more number of questions relatively than grade 12. Now, across all these chapters, I have given you weightage 1 minimum in a chapter. Living world, for example, has the least weightage among all these chapters, and 3, 4 is maximum up to 5. Say, for example, animal kingdom, you can get 4 questions. Plant kingdom, you can get 4 questions. So I cannot say this one chapter is the most important, but you should get good score in biology, then only you will get a good rank overall. And biology questions are less time consuming and they are easy and high scoring. At the same time, your overall score, contribution from biology to overall score will not be 50%, though in the total number of 200 questions, biology are only 100 and you need to attempt 90, but contribution to the entire score will be surely more than 50%, will be 50 to 75% depending on the student. So please focus on biology, which is easy, and if at all you need to ignore, at this point of time you have exactly 1 month of time from today. Am I right, Bhagesri? 17th June is the examination date. You have exactly 1 month of time. And what I suggested is, instead of skipping a whole chapter, what to do is you read only important points of a chapter. And with 30 days on hand, with 38 chapters, so far we have covered the list of chapters from grade 11, they are 22 in number. And grade 12, if you take reproduction in organisms, is one smaller chapter from which you can get about 1 question or so. Sexual reproduction in flowering plants is an important chapter from which you will get around 3 questions. At the same time, you remember reproduction organisms is very small, simple chapter from which you will get 1 Sexual reproduction is not that small, you need to read more. And human reproduction, reproductive health, very, very important. From each of these chapters, you will get about 3 questions. And again, human reproduction, you can get 3 questions. Reproductive health, also you can get 3 questions. But what is important here is that reproductive health is a very small chapter. Human reproduction is comparatively a bigger chapter. And in reproductive health, you will get questions mainly related to birth control methods. Natural methods are there, barrier methods, about pills, and about emergency contraceptives, vasectomy, tubectomy. You will surely get 1 question from birth control methods. Very, very important. And in the past NEET examinations, if you observe, more number of questions in birth control method are repeatedly asked from intrauterine devices, IUDs. As you know, there are 3 types of IUDs: non-medicated IUDs like Lippis loop, and then copper releasing IUDs like CUT, CU7, multi-load 375, and hormone releasing IUDs like LNG20, projector SIRT. So from birth control method, surely you will get 1 question. And again, assisted reproductive technologies. These are explained under the heading, what is called infertility, like GIFT, what is artificial insemination, and ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection, and what is test tube baby program. And some points which are repeatedly asked in NEET, if you see, they will be trying to test you. GIFT involves the transfer of either zygote or embryo up to 8 blastomeres into fallopian tube, whereas intrauterine transfer, IUT, involves the transfer of embryo with more than 8 blastomeres into the uterus. So 1 question will be from those assisted reproductive technologies. 1 question will be from birth control methods, for sure, from this chapter, reproductive health. Human reproduction, also you can confine to NCERT textbook. Spermatogenesis and oogenesis are important. Menstrual cycle and the hormonal regulation of menstrual cycle. For example, menstrual flow is due to decline in the levels of progesterone, estrogen. And ovulation is due to LH surge. And luteal phase involves secretion of progesterone, large amounts of progesterone from what is called corpus luteum. And the regeneration of endometrium occurs during proliferative phase. Okay, and the shedding off of endometrium occurs during menstruation phase. Menstrual cycle is also a smaller area in the human reproduction from which you can expect 1 question. Okay, male-female reproductive systems are relatively easier, and gametogenesis is very, very important. Be thorough with different types of follicles. What is there in a primary follicle, secondary follicle, Graafian follicle, tertiary follicle. Say, for example, tertiary follicle is characterized by the presence of antrum. And Graafian follicle, the layers around the oocyte, the sequence of the layers from inside to outside, the plasma lemma, zona pellucida, corona radiata, for example. And principles of inheritance variation, molecular basis of inheritance evolution is the next unit. And principles of inheritance and variation, molecular basis are highly scoring. And evolution, sometimes they gave up to 3 questions from evolution, and sometimes it is 2 questions or 1 question, but average 2 questions will appear from evolution. Not very difficult questions, most of them from within NCERT. And human evolution, be thorough with the very important points about each stage in human evolution. Dryopithecus, Ramapithecus, stages 1, 15 million years ago, and then connecting link between apes and man, Australopithecus, and then Homo habilis, first human-like being, and Homo erectus is Java man. Fossils were discovered in 1891 at Java. Then Neanderthal man, very important points, lived in East Central Asia, and he used to bury the dead, used hides to protect their body. And when did Homo sapiens arose? And human evolution. Before that, brief account of evolution. In that, most of the questions have been from the text part, but not from the diagram part. Even there is a diagram explaining evolution of vertebrates and evolution of plants. Most of the questions have been from the text part. If you are not thorough with the diagram part, don't try to learn now. Focus on the text part. Dinosaurs, for example, became extinct about 65 million years ago at the end of Cretaceous period. Right? About Latinaria, a living fossil, which is a lobe-finned fish. And the first land organisms were plants. When animals invaded land, plants were already present. Focus on important points in this brief account of evolution. And in evolution, many questions, high percentage of questions are from the evidences of evolution, particularly morphological, anatomical evidences, homologous organs, adaptive radiation, or divergent evolution, analogous organs, convergent evolution. All the NCERT examples are very, very important. After evolution, that is the 7th chapter in grade 12. Next is human health and disease, again in grade 12. Hardly any question is beyond NCERT except for very few questions about some bacterial viral diseases. They are also very few in number. Immunity, be perfect. There are important subtopics include common human diseases, bacterial, viral, fungal diseases, and some preventive measures. Also about immunity. And then next topic is about AIDS, then cancer, drug, alcohol abuse. And from all these, be perfect with the NCERT. Be perfect with the NCERT. And human health and disease is also scoring about 3 questions you can expect from this chapter. And next is strategies for enhancement in food production. That is chapter number 9, which includes animal husbandry, plant breeding. Animal husbandry, especially animal breeding, is very, very important. Inbreeding, what are the advantages, disadvantages of inbreeding? For example, inbreeding increases homozygosity, and inbreeding causes inbreeding depression, and inbreeding is required to evolve pure line. These are very, very important. And then outbreeding includes outcrossing, crossbreeding, interspecific hybridization, and the significance of outcrossing, definition of outcrossing is very, very important, and it helps overcome inbreeding depression. And an example of mule for interspecific hybridization, and also example of crossbreed, Hisardale breed of sheep are very, very important. And then multiple ovulation embryo transfer technology. And fisheries, only list of freshwater and marine fishes you memorize, that is enough, more than enough. Poultry, there is hardly anything other than H5N1 virus, which caused avian flu or bird flu. There is no other important point in the NCERT from poultry. And about general dairy farm management, there are mostly vague general things. So animal breeding is the most important part among animal husbandry. Okay. Apart from that, you can also get one from plant breeding part. Then microbes in human welfare, all the NCERT example you memorize, about 2 to 3 questions you can expect from microbes in human welfare. Biotechnology has 2 things. One is biotechnology principles and processes. Other is biotechnology and its applications. And from this biotechnology principles and processes, you can get about 3 questions at least, and even more than that. Applications, about 2 questions you can get from biotechnology applications. And that finishes chapter number 12. You are left with 4 more chapters, and these 4 chapters, all the questions are purely NCERT based, except few questions on environmental issues and a couple of questions in biodiversity conservation. It is very scoring, and there is good weightage for these chapters. 2 to 3 questions from organism populations, ecosystem, and at least 3 questions from biodiversity, at least 3 questions from environmental issues. So overall, you can expect about 10 to 15 questions, somewhere between 10 and 15 questions from this unit called ecology, and not difficult. Organisms and populations, again, we can divide into 2 parts. First, about organisms and abiotic factors like temperature, etc., and response to abiotic factors, adaptations is the first part. Second part is populations, which involves in which population growth curves, types of population growth, exponential growth, logistic growth, and population growth interactions. Highly scoring. You have to remember all the examples for various types of interaction, and you should also know, for example, mutualism, where both the partner species are benefited. Aisha Khan raised her hand. Bhagyasri will pass the questions to me after I complete this.
Sure, sir.
Say population interactions, in which interaction one is harmed, other is unaffected, commensalism. In which interaction one is unaffected, other is benefited, commensalism. There is a table in the NCERT book with symbols plus minus 0. Be perfect in that, and remember all the examples for various types of interactions given. Most of the questions will be from that. And ecosystem, primary, secondary productivity, some example of food chain will be simple. And ecological pyramids, especially limitations of ecological pyramids, and nutrient cycling, these are the areas to focus. And biodiversity and conservation, NCERT content is very limited, and you can simply master it. There is so much of numerical data also in the biodiversity conservation, which you cannot remember for long. Say how many species of ants are there, how many species of beetles are there, how many species of orchids are there. There is some important numerical data and less important numerical data, and your teacher will be able to guide you what is important to remember, what is not important. The causes of extinction of species, the loss of biodiversity, there are 4 reasons. Remember examples for each of them. And conservation, 2 main types, in situ and ex situ, and what is the difference between these 2, what is the advantage, and each has the national parks, sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, biodiversity hotspots, very important. They cover less than 2% of area, and they are very significant reservoirs of biodiversity, and there is a high level of endemism in these biodiversity hotspots. Occasionally, there has been one question in previous NEET exams from biodiversity beyond NCERT about various national parks. For example, Dachigam National Park, where is it situated? It is situated in Jammu and Kashmir, and Hangal Kashmiri stag is the important animal protected. A list of important national parks and an important animal protected there, and the location. This is something which is beyond NCERT, occasionally appears. Otherwise, biodiversity is highly scoring. Environmental issues, again highly scoring. The content is very less. Already some of these you have learned under environmental chemistry also. For example, air pollution, there is no much description of pollution except for preventive measures in air pollution, electrostatic precipitators, scrubbers, and catalytic converters. Electrostatic precipitators for removal of particulates, scrubbers for sulfur dioxide, and catalytic converters for controlling vehicular pollution. And there are various acts now. These years are important to remember. Air Act in 1981, Water Act 1974, Air Act was amended to include noise as pollutant, 1987, Environment Protection Act, 1986 at the beginning of the chapter, and say Montreal Protocol, 1997, Kyoto Protocol, 1997, not there in NCERT, but important to remember. All these are important to remember. And environmental issue, some important areas include greenhouse effect, global warming, and ozone depletion, particularly the effects of harmful effects of UVB rays, what is good ozone, what is bad ozone, Dobson's units, and the mechanism of degradation of ozone, the role of chlorofluorocarbons. And greenhouse effect, there are 4 greenhouse gases only mentioned in NCERT. Of course, there are more, but carbon dioxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbons, nitrous oxide, the percentages are also given 60%, 20%, 14%, 6% respectively. That is also important. Previously, there was a question, which of these 2 greenhouse gases contribute to more of global warming? So that's about various chapters. Now, Bhagyasri.
Yes, so I think there's one question just over here from Unit 8, Biology and Human Welfare, Chapter 10, Microbes and Human Welfare. I think Sunali wants to ask, sir, how many questions in this chapter, Microbes and Human Welfare?
Yeah, microbes in human welfare, how many questions in this chapter? I cannot give an assurance, but I will tell you that in 2020, from this chapter, there were 2 questions. 2019, there were 3 questions. 2018, there was 1 question. 2017, there were 3 questions. 2016, first page, there were 2 questions. If I take average of all these, it will be 2 plus between 2 and 3. But sometimes it can be 1, sometimes it can be 3. And also remember that what I gave till 2020, the total number of questions was 45 only. Now it is 50. So there can be an extra question from some chapters. So 2 to 3 questions is what we can expect from microbes in human welfare, depending on the trends in the past 5 years, from 2017 to 2021.
Right. And I think we have a similar question from genetics. How many questions they can expect from genetics?
Okay. How many questions we can expect from genetics is the question here. Let me clarify that genetics, I think my screen is still shared.
Yes, sir, it's still there.
My screen is still shared. Let me move the focus to these chapters. Genetics refers to these two chapters. One is principles of inheritance and variation, that is first one. And second one is molecular basis of inheritance. These are the 2 chapters of genetics. And put together, I can say, principles of inheritance and variation, molecular basis of inheritance, together will account for up to 8 marks out of the total 100 questions, 8 questions out of the 100 questions that are going to appear in the NEET examination.
Sir, how, like, if we talk about marks distribution from each of these chapters from biology, how will be the marks distribution? Like, what they can expect from there?
What they can expect, I think, Bhagyasri, I think we can share. I will prepare a consolidated sheet. I can also give an expectation. You also see on the internet, many people give different weightages. And please understand, all the kids, I think they understand that there is no fixed weightage that these many questions should appear from this particular chapter. But still, I think I will better share the number of questions, at least from 2017 onwards or 2016 onwards, where NEET actually started in 2013. There was NEET in 2013, but 2014, 2015, it was again AAPMT. 2016 onwards, there was NEET regularly. So from 2016 onwards till 2021, I think if I share the number of questions in each year followed by an average of these number, I think that would be more authentic data for the children to understand. Even if I say one question now, see, I'm not an astrologer and my prediction might not become 100% right, and they will have a better idea. Would that be fine, Bhageshri?
Sure. Sir, is there any marking pattern also for biology paper particularly?
Marking pattern. What do you mean by marking pattern, Bhageshri?
As in the paper, they want to know like what kind of mark distribution would be there for biology for like different topics.
Fine. For different topics, I already explained. That is the discussion. It is called chapter-wise weightage.
Okay.
It's called chapter-wise weightage. I told you living world, there can be one question, biological classification, 2 to 3 questions. I can suggest a range, but not fixed one. Even there is no rule as such. There is no blueprint that these many questions should appear from this chapter. That the children can understand well what I am saying. If I give chapter name and the number of questions across various years, if I give that, that would give them a better idea. And
right.
total there are 100 questions in biology, botany 50, zoology 50, and they need to attempt only 45 from botany, 45 from zoology. That choice is in section B. And each question, if you answer correctly, you will get 4 marks. And if you select wrong answer, you will lose 1 mark, -1, that is negative marking. If you don't attempt, it is 0, it will not make any difference.
Right. Okay. So also they want to know about like if they have just 30 days, is 30 days enough for them to crack the exam? What all strategy they can have for these 4 weeks?
Yeah. Is the 30 days enough to crack the exam? If I say no, what else can you do? You have to take the exam on 17th of July, right? And as a matter of fact, let me tell you that to get 100% perfection, this 30 days is not enough. Even 60 is not enough. 100 also is not enough. As a matter of fact, even the student who is going to top the exam, who is going to get into toppest rank in the NEET exam also, if you interview him before the examination, he will not be 100% confident. Are you getting me right? But still, what we need to do is try to do your best. Try to do your best, utilize the time to the best possible extent optimally, and spend more time on important areas and less time on less important areas. And there is a 80-20 principle that is also called some parity principle. In this world, 80% of productivity comes from 20% of employees, right? And even in the examination, majority of the questions, 80% of the questions will come from only some 50% of your textbook content. I'm not saying chapter or topic. In a textbook, there will be some introductory paragraph or just biology first chapter. If you open, say for example, any chapter, digestion and absorption, and before that chapter, there will be a description of a particular scientist, his life history, his contribution. There is 1 page information about him. The probability of a question from that is almost 0. Similarly, there will be some introduction which is very vague, which is very primary. To introduce a topic, they will just give some introduction, right? If you go to a chapter, breathing and exchange of gases, what is breathing? They will try to say, place your hand on chest. You can feel your chest moving up and down, right? That is because you are inhaling, exhaling. This is certain thing. It is called narration. And in this competitive examination, objective examination, all are objective questions. There will be a particular point, concept, or a data which is in the question, and you should select what is the correct answer, and you will not describe it. So all that narration part is where you get almost no questions. There will be some very, very important points. For example, I will explain with the same chapter, breathing, exchange of gases. There is a small table in which he will give the partial pressures of oxygen and carbon dioxide. In atmosphere, PO2 is 159 mmHg. In alveoli, it is 104. In oxygenated bed, 95. Deoxygenated bed, it is 40. Tissues, it is 40. Similarly, carbon dioxide also he gives. That is a small table which has a data. And there is a possibility of question, what is the PO2 of alveoli? Or the PO2 in this particular arteries is more there in vein. That is a concentrated information which you need to memorize. And more importantly, repeatedly asked question in previous NEET, carbon dioxide, about 70% of carbon dioxide is transported as bicarbonate ion. That is repeated question, 2-3 times you can see in the previous NEET. Say 20 to 25% is transported as a carbaminohemoglobin, 7% as dissolved carbon dioxide, 3% of oxygen in dissolved form, 97% as oxyhemoglobin. These are the things which you need to focus and memorize, from which more number of questions are likely to appear. And again, what you perfectly remember, which is very, very preliminary, what you perfectly remember, you need not read it again and again. What you are liable to forget, but still important for the exam, you need to memorize. For example, I told ARAT in which year, EPA was enacted in which year. All these things you have to make a list of them, and you should read them towards the end. And initially you will be focusing on learning concepts. As you come closer to the exam, you will be focusing on strengthening your memory, and there will be certain things which you are liable to forget without revision, and you have to focus on them.
Right, absolutely. Okay. So coming to another few questions that I see is, Bhakti says, sir, that is NCERT preparation enough, or do they have to prepare from other study materials also? Like for the last 30 days, where should they concentrate more?
This answer depends on what score you are aiming at, what rank you are looking at. Say if you are aiming to get into AIMS Delhi, if you belong to a open category, unreserved category, then you should get an all India rank less than 50. In such case only there is some necessity for you to revise something beyond NCERT which you already learned. But for all the students, including the person aiming for top 1 rank in India, to the last student, my advice is, don't try to learn something new beyond NCERT today. If you have already learned, just refresh your memory. That too only for people who are expecting somewhere score between 650 and 700, especially in some chapters. Say for example, you take Animal Kingdom, you can confine to NCERT, no problem at all. And you go to Human Physiology, there is a possibility that certain questions are beyond NCERT. Basically, this is an examination for admission into medical colleges, and Human Physiology is something which you are going to learn in the first year of MBBS. And from that, there will be some questions slightly beyond NCERT. Our past experience in the 3 years, it shows that there are not many questions beyond NCERT. A couple of questions beyond NCERT, either you will be able to manage or you can ignore them. And sometimes there is one question far beyond NCERT. I can give an example of a question in, say, for example, NEET 2019. There was a question about a human cornea. And cornea is the most sensitive part in the human body. And this is something which is not covered in NCERT, not covered at that point of time in, I can say, any of or almost all of the test prep books available in the market, NEET textbooks and guides. And that was not even, I asked that question to some MBBS students and even some people who did after PG also. So that is something of higher level. And if you want to prepare to answer such questions also, there is no limit of how much you need to learn. And mostly, even if one such question appears in the exam, my advice to all the students, or this is my last interaction with them, don't get panic. If that is far beyond your reach, it will be beyond reach of most of the students. And nowadays, almost all the students, at least for biology, are focusing almost entirely on NCERT. If there are some questions far beyond NCERT, please understand it is a problem not just for you, for most other students. And what matters in this competitive exam is the relative merit, but not the absolute merit. Say if the paper is too easy, you need to get, say, 600 out of 720 to get into a medical college which you are looking at. If the paper is difficult, even 500 also will be adequate, because you would end up getting the same rank. What matters in this exam is the rank, but not the score. So as far as biology is concerned, no student should start learning something beyond NCERT now. And revise NCERT and memorize perfectly, and something slightly beyond NCERT, what you have already learned, you can just revise depending on the score you are targeting and also depending on your earlier preparation.
Absolutely. Okay. So the another question that I see is time management for NEET exam. How should they have the time managed?
Yeah. How should they manage time? That is a very good question. And total time provided to you here, it is 200 minutes for 200 questions. 200 minutes, 200 questions, but it will not be exactly 1 minute per question. It will not be exactly 1 minute per question because biology relatively requires lesser time. Biology requires relatively lesser time compared with chemistry compared to physics. Physics requires more time than chemistry, than biology. That is something every one of us is aware. So I can suggest that biology is actually 100 questions. You will answer only 90, 50% of questions from biology. Allocate about 1 hour of time, ideally. About 1 hour of time for biology, 50 plus 50 questions to read. And chemistry has 50 questions. You can allocate about 1 hour, say for example, for chemistry, 50 questions, 60 minutes. And physics, again 50 questions, allocate 80 minutes. So broadly, I can say if I divide into botany, zoology, physics, chemistry, 4 subjects, each has 50 questions, you have to answer 45. For botany, allocate 30 minutes, zoology, allocate 30 minutes, and chemistry, allocate 60 minutes, and physics, 80 minutes. And 80 plus 60 is 140. 140 plus 60 will be 200. But it is better when we are taking some mock test. It is better don't try to manage, say have some spare time of 10 minutes. Sometimes based on experience of my previous students, I can say sometimes in a particular exam center, it may take a while for the exam to start. There may be some delay, or a student might receive some bad OMR. You need to extend the OMR. Sometimes there can be some time loss in the final examination. If you plan for 190 minutes, 4 subjects, you will have some 4 minutes spare time. And again, start with biology first because it is easy and it is scoring. It will improve your confidence levels. Then go for chemistry and finally go for physics. Because biology is easier than chemistry, than physics in general. Apart from that, physics questions consume more time, biology consume less time. And even if you don't have time to answer it, say for example, you fall short of say 10 minutes to complete all the questions, you fail to answer only 2 questions in physics. But if biology is at the end, if 10 minutes is short, you will fail to answer 20 questions or 10 questions minimum. So biology for 100 questions, I told only 60 minutes. Are there any queries regarding time management, Bhageshi?
I think time management is answered. I think all of you have understood about the time management thing, right? Okay, Vaibhav is asking, sir, in NEET exam, is there negative marking also?
Yes, there is negative marking. For every correct answer, you will be awarded 4 marks, that is +4. For every incorrect response which you have chosen, suppose you marked wrong answer, then it will be -1. But if you don't attempt, it will be 0. There is negative marking.
So I think that answers your question. Okay. How to solve or guess MCQs after reading NCERT biology?
How to solve or answer MCQs after reading NCERT biology? Yeah. If you actually, as far as biology is concerned, I said it is 60-minute affair only. But please remember that physics is tougher to crack. It takes more time. But still, if you are perfect in biology, biology is mostly memory oriented, most of the questions. Because of that, if you know the answer, you will be able to answer quickly. If you don't know, you need to think. Sometimes you may get in a minute, sometimes it may take half an hour, sometimes you will not recall also if your memory is that bad, or if it is not there in your short-term memory. Now, what I advise is, if you have knowledge of a particular question which is asked, say, let me give some example. Say they will give a particular plant name, it belongs to which family. If you know it, you will answer. If you don't know it, it is a guesswork only. There is no logic which you can apply there in such questions. If it is concept, sometimes you can apply logic, and you will go by elimination method. Sometimes quickly you don't know what is the correct answer. You can eliminate that this is wrong, one by one. You will be eliminating the options. And if you can eliminate two options, you guess among the remaining two, your probability of scoring rises to 50% from normal 25%. Again, there was a discussion about negative marking. Negative marking should not prevent you from attempting questions in biology where you are not 100% confident. My screen share is still on. Let me tell you, there are 4 options to choose from. If, say, for example, let me type any one sample question here. I'm giving a very simple question for your convenience. Bhageshri, is it visible?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
It's visible.
Yes.
So these are the options. I'm giving the answer also here.
Okay, I think before one of them I've already answered porifera.
No, I am giving the answer also. It is not a test for them.
Okay.
This is pure memory based here. Echinodermata is the 4th option. Here. How you should answer is, if you are confident that this is not the correct answer, simply eliminate this option, and this is also not correct, you are 100% sure, eliminate this option, and then you will be confused between these two. These two are very close phyla, Nidaria, porifera. You vaguely remember whether it belongs to porifera or Nidaria. There is some confusion, but you surely know it is not from mollusca, not from Echinodermata. Just as an example I have given. Suppose if you don't eliminate the options, I create one more question from biology and say, for example, if I ask Bhageshri to answer, she would have, or I am giving another question. Say, for example, Bhageshri, just guess one answer.
Sir, I don't think I'll be able to guess also.
No, I want to prove something here.
Okay, I'll just take a guess at the second option.
It is perfectly correct.
Oh.
It is perfectly correct, right? Maybe Bhageshri was successful in this attempt, and if I change the question, again I'm changing the question. Please guess.
I think the 4th one maybe.
Again correct.
I just guessed it.
Again correct.
I have no clue about the names.
This one?
So no idea.
No idea.
I'll just take a guess. Maybe none of these may be possible.
None of these options is not there.
Then I think I'll go with the first one maybe. That's the only one left.
The first one. Again, you are right. Bhageshri. I guess why you guessed this first one. Because I already asked one question related to this. For one, this was the answer. For first one, this was the answer.
Yeah.
You went with next one, right?
Yeah.
So, say if you guess blindly, I want to convince my students. If you guess blindly, the probability that your answer is correct is 0.25 out of 4. For any one to be randomly correct will be 0.25. And as I said, if you can eliminate two options, again, Nidaria porifera, two phyla which are adjacent to each other in the textbook, very close, you have some confusion. If you have eliminated two options and if you guess among the remaining options, I will not say it will be correct. The probability that it will be correct will be 0.5, 1.5, half. That means out of every two questions, one will be correct. And I can also prove by giving a paper of 100 questions to Bhagyashree and make her mark answers for all, she would get 25 correct. Even if she marks one second option for all the questions or one third option for all the questions randomly, she would get 25% correct. If she is fortunate, something more, something less. Now, if you are blindly guessing, say for example, 4 questions, you are blindly guessing, blind guess. Out of these 4, there is probability that 1 will be right, okay, and 3 will be wrong. That is the normal probability, okay. And if 1 is right, how much you are going to score? +4. If 3 are wrong, how much you are going to lose? -3. So that total will be +1. It is again in your favor, even in case of blind guesses. But if you eliminate 2 options and guess, again the probability out of 4, if you guess 2 are likely to be correct and 2 are likely to be wrong. If you can eliminate two options in each question, then what you will get here is 8, what you will lose here is 2, and the total would be +6 in favor of the student. I think you understood this. So
Right.
there is negative marking. At least as far as biology is concerned, there is no need to worry about negative marking, because I am hopeful that your guess is more likely to be correct, or you will be able to eliminate some options easily. And even in the exam, particularly matching type of questions, if possible. Let me give an example. Do I have some time to search for an example? Or I will show any one matching type of question randomly. I will take maximum 30 seconds if you allow.
Okay, Aisha and Raja, just 5-10 minutes more we need.
Meanwhile, just 2 minutes. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
you can go through. The questions which are posted by them.
Yes, I'll quickly take your questions also. Okay, so they want to know some books that you can like refer to them, sir, for biology.
Okay, I'm showing one matching type of question here. I am pasting here. If the students can guess, let them guess the answer for this, or tell the answer for this, or is the question visible totally in one shot? No, I will make it smaller. Is it visible now?
Yeah, I think the lower part is not visible to them.
Now?
Yeah, I think it's visible. The
Now
fourth option. Yeah.
Now it will be visible. Let the student just give their answers.
Okay, all of you can watch the screen, right? So just quickly put your answer. I think also they wanted to know, like, meanwhile they're answering the question, that if there is some question that they're not sure of, should they like say leave that question and move ahead instead of answering that?
Yeah, for that only I have taken this example. Let us stop here. How many ever have answered? That is fine. Bhagyashree, now can you tell me what was the majority answer here?
I think 3 has got the major, answers. Number 3.
Now let me explain. They will understand easily. Floating ribs, the last 2 pairs of ribs in our human body. First 7 pairs of ribs are called 2 ribs, and 8th, 9th, 10th, next 2 pairs, they are called vertebrochondral ribs, and the last 2 pairs of ribs, they are not connected to sternum laterally, and they float. Because they are floating, they are called floating ribs. Do not connect with sternum. A matches with 4. And even if you don't know what is about acromion, scapula, glenoid cavity, A4 is available only in one option, right? If you are confident that A matches with 4, you can eliminate option 1 based on this, option 2 based on this, option 3 based on this, right? And B, acromion. Acromion is a process. Clavicle attaches to acromion process, and it is a now how many of the children, let them confirm that they could get the answer only based on A without reading others also, without caring for others. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, they're writing me.
Okay, they're writing me. Fine. Now, for example, C scapula is located between second and seventh ribs. Very important NCERT statement. Suppose if you know that C is 1, imagine you know only about this, nothing else. Then what you should do is C is 1. So the answer could be either 3 or 4. You can eliminate first and second options, right? Eliminate them. Then among 3 and 4, what could be correct? You try to say, for example, D, glenoid cavity, head of humerus articulates with glenoid cavity. If you know that, you can get the correct answer. Or if you know about B, you can get it. Or if you know about A, already you know about C, you are sure that C is 1. And floating ribs that do not connect to sternum, then based on you, so for example, you know about A and C only. So based on C, you have eliminated 2 options, then you are left with 2 options. In this, again, based on A, you can eliminate 1 option, you got the answer. So even without knowing about all the 4 items in the column 1, you can get the mark. Suppose you know about 3, you know that A matches with 4, B matches with 3, C matches with 1. There is no need to know about D, right? Automatically 4, 3, 1 are there. D should be obviously 2. So even if you know about 3, you can get mark 100%. You can get. Even if you know about 2, you can manage. I gave the example. Sometimes even with knowledge of just a single item, for example, A floating ribs, if you know that, you can score mark here. You need not worry that I don't know other things. Bhageshri, am I?
Yeah. Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah. So that's why leaving the question. Suppose it is totally clueless. You are totally clueless. I explained you with examples. Even if you are totally clueless, also your probability of getting the answer right will be 25%. Out of every 4 questions you are guessing, 1 will be right, 3 will be wrong, no problem. The net score will be in your favor. And this particularly for biology, you can take it.
Right. Okay.
And especially in physics, sometimes certain questions are very tempting. It appears that you can do it. What they do is, while setting the options, they will also solve the question in the wrong way, which you are going to do, and keep that option also available to you. Sometimes there, your confidence does not matter. The trick in the question matters. But in biology, no need to worry about negative marking. Fine?
Right. Right. Absolutely, sir. Okay.
Mm.
So we don't have much of time.
Mm.
So we'll quickly come to the wrap up of the session. I think this was a great session because we had some practical experience of the questions, and I think that really helped all the students. I mean, they took interest and they were actually understanding what you were trying to say. So I think that was a very informative session for all of you. I hope that works for you, all of you, right? And I think sir has already explained with the chapter wise for 11 and 12, like what all topics are there, how many questions you can, expect out of there. So meanwhile, we'll go to the wrap up of the session. I've just launched the poll. So if you find this session really helpful to you for your upcoming exams, please, feedback, fill up this form while we take up last 1 or 2 questions. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
I was just now going through the chart, and there was
Yes,
one
sir.
question, about how to prepare for the mock test, something like that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was about to take that question for the mock test.
Yeah, and even you raised this point, I did not answer it totally.
Yeah.
How to prepare in the remaining time is something you have to plan, and divide the syllabus into, say, how many days will you divide? It depends on your requirement. So do you want to read all the 30 days? Suppose you have 30 days time, then you have 38 chapters. So club 2 smaller chapters together and 1 bigger chapter, take it 1 day. For example, living world biological classification can be 1 day, plant kingdom 1 day, animal kingdom 1 day, like that you can plan. Or you can also keep a margin of about the last 5 days or 1 week, depending on your previous preparation. Those who have already prepared, revise the syllabus once, twice, then they will not plan for 30 days, they will plan for only some 20 days time. And in the last 10 days, they will have another round of revision of only very, very important things and points to memorize, like what I said, the year in which a particular act was enacted, only the examples, not the concepts. Concepts you are not liable to forget very quickly. Some examples, some data, information you are liable to forget. Such difficult data you need to read just before the exam. Suppose you can allocate 20 days, anywhere between 20 days, 30 days, depending on your convenience. If it is 30 days, I told you, club 2 smaller chapters together, human reproductive health together 1 day, like that. If you have to make it 20 days, plan what to study on particular day. No student can read entire syllabus every day. At the same time, because you cannot read everything every day, you should not end up reading nothing every day. So there should be a plan. Even if you are taking mock test with full syllabus every day, suppose last 10 days or last 2 weeks, you will be taking full syllabus test. But just before every test, you cannot cover the whole syllabus.
Yeah.
And you remember that you already had written some exams, and suppose you have taken some examination, there was a question which you learned yesterday, but you failed to answer. There might be, if the question is difficult or complex or you don't remember, and there might be at the same time many questions which you learned in the past, remote past, but still you could successfully answer. So don't think that you have to read entire syllabus every day. Plan properly, give 2 cycles of revision at least. The more number of cycles, the more perfect your memory be. Give some 2 cycles of revision and plan according to the number of days and revise. And again, going back to question, is 30 days sufficient? 30 days will not be sufficient if you read very slowly as you used to read when you were reading the chapter first time. Now it is not that type of reading. It is just consolidating your memory, and you should be quick enough, and you should prioritize. You should read only important points. A simple way I can express, for example, in NCERT, there are some important terms given in bold typing. Or while learning, you might have highlighted some important points while the teacher is explaining. And when there is no time, what you do is go through all those important points alone. So depending on time available, I will give you an analogy. Say, for example, I go to a dinner, there are 200, 300 items. I cannot eat each one of them. Then what I will do is, I will prioritize. What is my interest? I will try to pick only certain things which I can accommodate. Remaining, I will not select. You need to prioritize learning, and instead of prioritizing some chapters and leaving the rest of the chapters, suppose you have 50% of time. Suppose you require 60 days to read all the 38 chapters, but we have only 30 days time. My sincere advice is that don't read half of the chapters, 19, and leave the remaining 19. What you do is read only the key points from all the 35 chapters, from where more number of questions would appear. That would be more beneficial for you.
Absolutely. I think that is some very information coming up from sir. Okay, last question, sir. They are requesting to suggest some MCQ books or for biology. If you can quickly answer, take that.
See, MCQs books for biology, strict NCERT based books, you will not get very good books now. And again, as far as biology is concerned, if you are thorough with the concepts, say biology, how many questions can you answer from now? If you take daily 100, if you answer daily 100 questions from biology, you will be able to practice 3,000 questions maximum in this 1 month, right? From these 3,000 questions, how many questions would exactly replicate in the exam? We are not pretty sure. and the chance will be less. But this much of time, if you invest and read the NCERT textbook and revise the important examples, concepts from the NCERT textbook, that will be covering at least 80%, 90% of questions in the NEET exam. That I can give you 100% assurance. But you can go through, say, any publication which gives the previous NEET, NCERT or APMT questions in chapter wise. You can just quickly, after reading one particular chapter, today you have learned morphology of flowering plants. Any book which has previous NEET questions chapter wise, almost every book has. Just go through previous NEET questions, especially between 2017 and 2021, to understand which type of questions they are asking. And it is a good practice to go through them before learning a chapter itself, so that it will give you an idea from which area more questions are coming and what is the level of testing, to what extent they are testing your skills. Sometimes a chapter can be very difficult, from that you might be getting easy questions only. So for that purpose, you go through some previous NEET questions chapter wise, just for practice. What I suggest, some 10 questions, you have read some chapter, there are 38 chapters here. After reading every chapter, you can solve some random 10 questions. If you are in a proper test program, if you are taking some major tests, or if you are taking mock test, that should be absolutely fine for us. No need of any other test. Otherwise, you can practice some random 10 questions, 15 questions from every chapter. After you practice that from any textbook which is NCERT oriented. By scanning through questions in a chapter, you will understand what percentage is within NCERT, what percentage is beyond NCERT. Even if the questions are good, if there are many questions beyond NCERT, just discard the book for now.
All right. I think we did try cover all your sessions. We try and extend the session also. But I really hope the session was useful to all of you. And I think a lot of you have gone through this entire visual that sir did share, and practically you did get to solve few questions. So I think that was helpful, and that was very, very informative for all of you. But if there are any queries that is left, you can always connect with us back on ask.shiksha.com, or you can directly connect with the panelists itself. They are available on LinkedIn. So if you want any sessions, if you want to connect with them or get enrolled, you can always connect with them on LinkedIn, right? And for NEET, we are coming up with the chemistry and the other sessions. Chemistry and physics will be creating for that. So don't worry, we'll be planning up the sessions for the coming weeks. So just keep a tab on our LinkedIn pages. I'll be sharing the post and the registration link as well. Okay, so you can always register free for these webinars and be part of these. So thank you so much, sir. I think they had a great session. I could see that they did understand each and everything, and they actively were taking part in this. And I hope the session was useful to you, sir. Any last advice you would like to give them before they sit for the exam in like coming 4 weeks? They'll be sitting for the exam.
Yeah, last advice I would like to give them is that have confidence on yourself, right? The NEET exam has been very, very easy, and that is good news for, especially for people who are not prepared well. And people who are well prepared actually should expect a difficult paper, so that they only can score as others cannot score. But remember that with your NCERT preparation alone, you can crack, you can get into MBBS, you can get into a reasonably very good MBBS college, even government college. And believe that it is 100% fact. I'm not just telling to convince you. And have plan. No one fails to plan, but no one plans to fail, but fails to plan. I think you're getting me, right? Have a plan, what to read today, what to read tomorrow, what to read day after tomorrow, what to do in the last 1 week. Have a proper plan. And I am pretty sure you will be failing to complete. If you plan 2 chapters today, 100%, let me tell you upfront that you will fail to complete those two chapters. But don't extend for 1 more day, because you will end up totally covering 50% only. Try to change the strategy of how to read, what to read. And now, more important is what not to do than what to do, right? I said, don't solve objective say sources which have so many questions beyond NCERT. Don't spend so much time on just solving objective questions without actually reading the points from the NCERT textbook. So plan well, and I wish you best of luck in the coming NEET examination. Hope all of you will be there in the medical colleges in the academic year 2022 to 2023.
Absolutely. All the very best to all of you. And we are coming up with more sessions. Just keep following us on LinkedIn. Sir, thank you so much for all your time and for all the valuable information and advice. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel.